What's up, guys? Hope all your bellies are full and you had fun watching football today, but it's time to get back to the real sport, NBA. Feels like it's been a really long time since we caught some action. So I'm joined here with Justin right now, and we're going to break down the Friday, November 27th slate. There are 11 games. Brian, I think, is still eating, so it's just me and Justin today. Justin, how's it going?
Pretty well. Yeah, NFL was a little tricky today. If you didn't have Stafford, didn't have Panthers D, you didn't cash. So
Yeah, that Packers D was really nice for sure.
yeah, I mean, kind of a chalk disappointed. Cam was not really great either. So um,
Right.
we just had a little, put a little money line, a little entertainment, little flipping of the coins, and then
Yeah, just
we'll
had to
make
get
it
our
all back.
fix.
Yeah, we'll make it all back on Friday.
Exactly. Yeah, let's jump into this slate. We got 11 games, and it's about time we got some NBA back. So we'll start things off with the Cavs at Charlotte. And good thing with this slate is everybody's rested. No one's on a back-to-back, which is kind of cool. And I got a Cleveland favored by 4, with a total of 203. So not bad for one of these, East Coast games. And
Yeah.
there's some plays in here. What are your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, so news and notes. First of all, Dellavedova still questionable with that sore left calf, but kind of irrelevant because Mo Williams is back from his injury. He came off the bench to start the game and then started the second half, ended up playing a good chunk of minutes. So he's kind of back to 100%. Delly is just going to be a limited backup point guard, even if he plays. I think the best play here by far is Kevin Love. And he's been absolutely crushing lately. 47.7 DraftKings points over the last week, and he has 42 plus DraftKings points in 4 straight games and in 8 of the last 10 games. And he's priced at 8,300 on DraftKings. You have a FanDuel price for him?
Yeah, he's 8,300 on FanDuel too. So I mean, you can
Yeah,
definitely roll him out both sides. There's no one to guard him. He's, like I said on the last part, he's crushing it in the post, and he'll have no problem there again. So yeah, consistency is key in cash, and he fits the bill.
Yeah, and LeBron's actually been pretty passive in terms of shooting. Like the last couple of games, he's been kind of content just letting Love run the show and kind of playing more like a facilitator and just kind of doing a little bit of everything while Love just racks up 20 and 10 and double doubles every night. So even on like a pure value standpoint, just like straight up, I might even prefer Love over LeBron, given how they've been playing lately. And with Kevin Love, you get a $1,600 discount on DK, and I'm sure there's a hefty discount as well on FanDuel. So he's kind of like one of the top cash game plays of this slate, just at his price. It's kind of like he's been producing like a 10 plus K player for a week or two now, and he's priced at 8,300, so pretty solid.
Right. No, I agree. Yeah, there's an 1,800 difference on FanDuel with Love and LeBron. And yeah, like you said, LeBron has been a little bit more passive, and that's even with Mo out. So with Mo back, yeah, Love's going to keep his role, and yeah, he makes for a great play. What are your thoughts on Tristan Thompson? He's only 5,700 on FanDuel and has a pretty solid matchup down low.
Yeah, I mean um, always a good bet without Mozzie to go 10 plus boards again, and still hasn't his price still hasn't caught up to the fact that he's playing big minutes, starting, and going to see the lion's share of the rebounds on that team along with Kevin Love. So I think he's still pretty solid in this spot, and I'd be fine rolling him in on cash for the foreseeable future until his price really catches up with his new role on this team.
Right. Yeah, I agree. I mean, he's got a good matchup. He's got double-digit rebounds in 4 straight. His last 3, he scored 8 points, 9, 9. So, he's right there with that double-double. And that's a pretty big swing on DraftKings. So I think he'll get the double-double tomorrow and definitely pay off that price. As far as tourney for this team, he kind of knocked out the 2 cash players, but LeBron, obviously, tournament, you could swing him when cash as well. JR is still playing pretty big minutes, but with Mo back, I think he kind of falls back to that tournament only option, even with a kind of decent price and thin shooting guard options.
Yeah, I think with JR at 53 on DK, you're still getting a little bit of a discount, but it's not where you're profiting a lot to where it's a cash game play. I think he probably outperforms his salary by $300, $400, which is fine, but you're kind of just playing him in tourneys, hoping he has one of those JR swish type games where he just goes unconscious and then throwing up those three goggles and doing typical JR things.
Yeah, and he's just been shooting unconscious from three lately, and
Yeah,
that's definitely going to go down. But that's what you're paying for, really, is him still stroking those threes, and he's got a good chance, but not enough for me to really roll him in cash.
agreed.
On the Charlotte side, it's an interesting matchup for them. It's a little more of a difficult matchup than they've been used to the last few games. Who you looking at? And you looking at anyone in cash in this game, really?
Kemba, I think is still strong. I'm not scared of Mo Williams at all, or Delly, or Jared Cunningham. Really, I think this is a really good spot, and I think he's really established himself as like the go-to like usage guy from game to game. And what I love too is that if you look at his minutes lately, he was kind of like in that 34, 30, 32, 33, 34 range to start. He's been playing like 38 to 40, like heavy minutes lately at the expense of Jeremy Lin. So I think the spot here is fine. The Hornets are still implied at 101, which is a good enough total for me to be a little aggressive on this game. And Al Jeff has been a little up and down for my likings, and he's really the only other usage guy that I'm concerned about on this team. So I think Kemba is kind of like the mainstay and the only guy that I'm super confident, or not super confident, or confident enough to roll it on cash on this slate.
Yeah, I agree. Kemba, especially more so on DK, he's 8,200 on FanDuel, so not
Yeah.
great there. But only thing that worries me really is Cleveland plays at such a slow pace. But like you said, they still have a high implied total. They've been scoring well. They're at home, so Kemba for cash. And yeah, Al, the minutes, the consistency makes me lean more tourney. And Batum, I'm also on tourney, even though he has been playing really well lately. Just the matchup. If he's
Yeah.
on LeBron, it'll be a little bit of, it'll give him some trouble.
So one thing I noticed on Al Jeff is that his two duds recently have come against Sacramento, and that was without Boogie, and also came against the Knicks, and that was when Robin Lopez only played 18 minutes. So I'm trying to see like when Al Jeff like has an off game versus a strong game, and it seems like maybe when he's playing like weaker center options that aren't like scoring threats. When they can trot out like Frank Kaminsky or Spencer Hawes out there in his place. Does this kind of match up profile to you like an Al Jeff game or not?
It kind of does. The matchup with Tristan down low, I mean, both those guys kind of stay down low. So I can see Al having a fine game and his price is soft. But on this slate, I just kind of prefer him tournament-wise. But yeah, the upside's absolutely there if the minutes are there with it. So
okay. And one guy I think I'll mention as well as a cheaper option, 4,600 on DK is Jeremy Lamb. Like I said, Lynn has really been marginalized recently, only playing low 20s in that range rather than mid to high 20s in minutes. With Kemba playing more, Jeremy Lamb has really taken on that heavier usage role in that second unit, oftentimes like their first guy off the bench too. I think he's an okay tournament play. I'm not scared about like who he's going up against in the second unit, and a pretty kind of hit or miss guy, which is kind of like what you want.
Right. Yeah, I had him as a tournament option as well. That second unit, it's a great matchup for him. Definitely not really cash viable, but tournament, absolutely. And that kind of wraps it up. Lynn falling out of the rotation doesn't really offer much upside with his decreased minutes. So pretty much does it for Charlotte. We can move on to the next game I got is Milwaukee at Orlando. I got a total of 197.5. Orlando favored by 3.5. So let's start with Milwaukee. Uh, Orlando has a slow pace, obviously. And what's up with Michael Carter Williams?
Yeah, he's awful lately. And, on top of that, he's only playing like 26, 27 minutes too. So it's like a horrible situation. Um, and, we talked about this offline because we both like Monroe last game. And with MCW kind of doing nothing, Jabari didn't really do much last game either. It was kind of like perfectly set up for Monroe and Giannis to really dominate scoring in that first unit. And Monroe had a big first half and then really slowed things down. Um, I'll toss it back to you because I definitely am leaning towards being off Monroe and Cash, even though he had that rep early of being super solid. He's kind of wavered a little bit lately. So what's your take on Monroe in this matchup?
Yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of this matchup for Monroe, really. I think it's actually going to be pretty tough for him. So I'm off him in Cash. I really liked him in Cash last game with Boogie out. So in this game, he's more of a tournament option for me, absolutely.
Giannis kind of fall in that same range for you?
I actually don't mind Giannis in Cash at all. I think he's kind of fallen victim to all these lopsided games. And
Yeah.
this, with a 3.5 spread, I actually really like this game for him. 6,900 is definitely a reasonable price, implied at 30 points. So I think he breaks that. It's just going to depend if you want to go that route and playing him at that price for that position. But he's a cash option for me.
Yeah, you make a really good point. Like, because I've done Bucks minutes and from game to game, and like all the results are like 20 plus points like recently. It's like crazy.
Yeah, they have. Yeah, it's been bad luck really with minutes. They've just had really, really lopsided scores, and I don't think that'll continue. This is a close spread, so I think it's a good opportunity to jump on Giannis in a pretty solid matchup.
Yeah, and that kind of does it for me for the Bucks. Chris Middleton is, I don't know. I think he's even a weak tournament option. I don't really buy the legitimate upside there, especially with the implied of 97 points. Jabari is we've talked about in the past. Even if he gets upwards of 30 minutes, I think his range of outcomes is pretty narrow right now, kind of in that 20 to 22 DK point range. So I don't see much tournament upside there. And then the other guy who's been scoring pretty well lately, Jared Bayless, might get a few less minutes in a closer game. I think he's benefited. He's actually been on the other side of the blowouts where he's maybe gotten a few extra minutes as a result, and that those might come down a little bit as a result if they're playing a closer game.
Yeah, I agree. Bayless is interesting. He played 36 minutes last game, and the way Carter Williams has been playing, you might wonder if there will be a change. I doubt it.
Yeah.
One thing I pointed out last pod is I accidentally said I liked MC Dub in tournaments. He has such a low price, and I think I'm going back to that well again. And I think I will have a few shares of Michael Carter Williams. He's been such a disaster lately. Nobody's going to be on him. He could be like 2% owned, and Orlando's 26th in defensive efficiency against point guards. I mean, even Dragic just lit the Magic up, and he's had a horrible season. So I think there's a little bit of value for Carter Williams at that dirt cheap price that you can gamble on, but I wouldn't recommend having too many shares of him at all.
Yeah, especially with for those players, we've covered in the strategy part. For those of you who only put like two or three lineups together and can't afford just taking shots in the dark, you're off MCW. But if you're kind of like more experienced players like Jay who can put together 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 lineups and kind of really diversify your portfolio and take those shots, then MCW makes plenty of sense because his ownership will be minuscule.
Right, and I'll probably only have him in like one or two of 50, so that's kind of my
Yeah,
thoughts on him.
right.
Move on to Orlando. My favorite coach, Scott Skiles. What are your thoughts on the new look Magic? We kind of already talked about off pod. Oladipo's kind of crazy usage rate off the bench.
Yeah, we talked offline. I actually calculated his usage rate. I think it was like 36%, which was surprisingly low because I thought it would be a lot more than that. Because I think he had like 15 field goal attempts and 15 free throw attempts in like 26 minutes or something off the bench, which is crazy. But it did kind of play out like value wise the way you kind of thought it would last game. Like Vooch led the way, and then you had Elf, Alfred Payton, Tobias Harris, and Victor Oladipo. Like those four guys did the majority of the scoring across the board. So I don't know. Like I'm I'm hesitant to totally be on this team in cash just because Skiles is so unpredictable and um,
Yeah, yeah, it's pretty risky still. But yeah, last game did work out kind of how we wanted it to work out
I
in
think
every
this is
game.
like a really good tournament team. I think this might be like my favorite tournament team as a whole because it's a 101 implied, which is fine for Orlando. And you got all these guys who people are going to be off of because Skiles is a nut job, and they're all going to be scared off of him. So Vooch, um, Vooch, I think is at 6,600 on DK is really good for tournaments because we've seen him playing starters minutes and what he can do on a consistent role, and he did play 32 minutes as a starter last game. Um, obviously there's like the risk of Skiles randomly benching him or whatever, but like I don't think that's something that should like it doesn't happen it's going to happen like once or twice a season, right? And we already had that one time happen. So
Yeah. Yeah, it's still scary kind of, but yeah, and all these guys are tournament plays for me. I have them all listed as tourney plays. Oladipo, Tobias, Vooch, and Alfred. They can all get it going.
yeah,
And, it's the problem with this is Milwaukee plays the slowest pace in the NBA, and the Magic already slow it down quite a bit, but Milwaukee has the worst defensive rating in the league, so it kind of balanced that out almost. So most points per 100 possessions. So it's kind of in the middle. So I still like these guys. Tobias has a pretty soft price implied at 26.7, and he averages 30. So, all these guys are in good spots. Vooch, it's just, yeah, Skiles could yank him real quick, but they all make for great tournament plays. Alfred and Depot separated, I think, opens it up for both of them. Alfred doubled
yeah.
last game, and I think he's a stronger option, and Depot can have more ball control off the second unit. So I kind of think all these guys are tournament guys. I wouldn't really roll any in cash just because, it's a very volatile team kind of. So
Right, I agree.
and that's about it for that team. So next game I got is Miami at the Knicks, and this is a really low total at 188.5. I got Miami favored by 1. So pretty brutal game total wise. So both teams play at a bottom 5 pace. So there's not that much upside in this game, and they also just played each other, and the total was 173. So it kind of
Oh,
was it's pretty scary. We got Luol Deng is still questionable, right?
yeah, and Amari's already been out with it, and it's not that it really matters, but
Right.
just thought I'd add there for the two of you who are interested. I don't know. Um, I'm off this team in cash. Even Whiteside is from game to game my the most intriguing player on this team to me, but 8,300 on DK is about near his break-even point for me to where I don't think it's super profitable. We're going to get a huge return on your investment, especially on a full slate like this. I think there are definitely better uses of your money than getting it in anywhere really in this game. There's one play on the Knicks I will like, but like generally,
Yeah, it's not a great game for cash on an 11-game slate. Whiteside, I can see him in cash. He doubled against him last week. His minutes are really the primary concern cash wise, and he's been fairly consistent still. And double blocks. He's a great tournament play. He's even scored double digits in 5 straight. So he's not the worst cash game play. But yeah, with this total and the pace that these teams play at, and the other center options that are cheaper, I'm
yeah.
pretty off him in cash. And yeah, I'm off Wade, Bosch, and cash. Gerald Green played 38 minutes starting for Deng, but I don't know how many minutes he'll go in this game if Deng is out. I think Winslow will have to come in to guard Melo. So I'm not too high on Gerald Green, even at 30. He still is at 3,300 on DraftKings, but we'll see if Deng plays or not. I would kind of guess Deng comes back. Just
Yeah.
he rarely sits as is. So I'm pretty off Green in cash, even with Deng out in this matchup.
I think it's very trappy, and I think you might profit because it's a 3,300 total. But like we talked about on the pod, right? You kind of have to look at like in a cash game, someone, at 3,300, say he hits 18 points, and that's like a 4,100 implied. Say he beats his implied by $800 or so. I don't think that's something you're like super happy about on a 11 game slate, right? There are better uses of your money there, and I think the potential for him to bust and totally do nothing is there as well. So you kind of have to balance the two, where there's like a huge range of values with Gerald Green since he's so scoring dependent. He took 17 shots last game and had 25 DK points. I don't think that's particularly something to brag about, and I don't think he's going to be taking 17 shots with Wade at 9 again either, even if Dang sits. So
Right.
I'd exercise caution there. I think like him and like Darrell Arthur type players are like in that category of guys that have an attractive points per dollar, but like you should be wary of in cash because they can kind of put a hole and kill your lineup a little bit.
Yeah, it's always tough with these spot start guys who will get an increase of minutes, but this isn't a great matchup. Green had a much better matchup last game and was able to get those shots off and play that many minutes where he wasn't a huge defensive liability. Yeah, I would probably fade him in this game if Dang sits. You said you like one guy on the Knicks. I'm assuming that's Porzingis.
No, it's Sasha Vujacic.
Of course. Yeah, I don't know why I even bothered asking.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, I got Porzingis still. His price is creeping up. It's 7,300 now on DraftKings. He's 7,100 on FanDuel, and you got to start 2 power forwards there. So I do prefer him there. He can definitely double and get a bunch of blocks. He's steady. His minutes are very solid. He played another 36 minutes last game and shot 3 for 13, and still went 10 points, 8 rebounds, and had 6 blocks. So his floor is just, with more minutes, his floor rises, and he's still a cash game option even with his price increased.
Do you have his line the last time that they played?
I think he went for 20 and 14 actually.
Okay.
Yeah, that was right. I don't know how. Yeah, it's kind of a guess, but it's
obviously
exactly
you
right.
rostered him on that day.
Yeah,
obviously,
of course. No, that's kind of the start of the Porzingis kind of cash game viable. He's getting his minutes now, and you have to consider him. He's got huge upside, and his floor is pretty high with his rebounds and blocks potential.
Agreed. I think what's kind of the limit where he becomes a little price prohibitive and gets a little too expensive? What's like your break even point with Porzingis? Is it 8,200? Is it?
Yeah, I think it's right around 8, and then it will be much more matchup dependent. This is not the greatest matchup, obviously, and this total is pretty weak. But, yeah, at this price, he's still cash on both sites you can get away with. I much prefer him on FanDuel.
Agreed.
But, yeah, when he starts getting up to 8K, we'll see if he keeps getting his minutes, and we'll see how fast the sites are to update. But, yeah, around 81 would probably be where you kind of fall off him in cash, maybe explore other cheaper value options.
Yeah, they don't have kind of the volatility of minutes that Porzingis can have on that Knicks team.
Yeah, and then for this game, I'm pretty much off everyone else on the Knicks except Melo. I think at 8,200 on DraftKings is a pretty cheap price. If Dang is out, I think he could get a mismatch there if Green draws the start again, and until Winslow comes in and D's him up a bit. But I like that matchup for Melo, and he's still a great tournament option pretty much regardless because he's going to be the guy scoring all their points anyways. So even in a low total, I think he could still get his.
Yeah, pretty much every game you're going to get him at fairly reduced and reasonable ownership because it's just this Knicks team is so unappealing in general, and they're never a team that's high on the implied totals or one that you particularly want to target. Even maybe the great ideal dream matchup once in a while, but like the vast majority of the time they're going to be overlooked as a whole minus Porzingis.
Right, yeah. So Melo's strictly pretty much tournament option, even though he does have a pretty favorable price. And that's it for the Knicks. So let's move on to the Wizards at Celtics, and this is a pretty high total at 207.5. I got Boston favored by 4. So I like this game because Boston plays at the fifth fastest pace and Washington plays at the third fastest pace. So there should be some solid plays here, even though Boston is fifth in the league in defensive rating. But they are pretty inconsistent in which games they're good defensively. So what are your thoughts? You like Wall on DraftKings? It's kind of hard to pass up at 8,100.
Yeah, and he's probably looking at IT. I'm assuming Bradley will probably guard Bradley Beal. A little Bradley on Bradley matchup there. So I'm all about Isaiah against IT. Obviously, IT being Isaiah Thomas, and then obviously with Marcus Smart, he's out for a week or two plus, so he's still sidelined. So it's going to be a lot of Thomas, and I think that's especially with how like inconsistent Beal has been. I don't think he's even like a realistic option, anyways. So for cash, so I'm all about Wall in this spot. I think it's a great matchup for him with a 104 implied team total.
Yeah, I love Wall here. They're almost begging you to take him on DraftKings at that price. It's a great value, and it's going to be a very fast-paced game, which I think suits Wall really well. And Isaiah Thomas is fairly weak defensively. Wall's got a huge size advantage on
Yeah.
him. He'll have no problems with that. And Solinger not the best rim defender, so John Wall's in a great spot, cash for sure. Tourney-wise, I'm really kind of only on Beal because, like you said, he's a little streaky and inconsistent. He did score 24 against him earlier this season, but yeah, he will probably have Avery Bradley on him. And then Gortat is another
Yeah.
guy, I'm pretty interested in.
Mhm.
Big double-double last game. Soli's not good around the rim. Boston could go small, so that's the only problem, but I like Gortat a lot for tournament.
I agree. He's been really solid. Like the last, he's picked up his play to a whole new level. He's been their best DK player over the last week or two, averaging 32 DraftKings points over the last week. And Jay did mention a legitimate concern. My only concern in this is he loses minutes when Boston goes small. This becomes like an up tempo guard dominated game, which I can definitely see given the strengths of personnel in this team. It's Wall and Beal versus Isaiah Thomas and Avery Bradley. So I can see Gortat kind of getting left on the side a little, like kind of like Al Jeff does in these certain spots. So, but I think a tournament is a great spot because I think the rebound potential can be very big in this. In this up, a lot of shots being taken, a lot of rebounding opportunities for him, and a generally undersized Boston front court too, where he can really, do some work on.
Yeah, he's no doubt in a good spot, but yeah, it's all about kind of minutes and consistency for him. So absolutely tournament play, and he's usually pretty under-owned in games like this. So I'd fire him up in some tourneys for sure. The Boston side, they have a high implied total, but are you really on anyone for sure cash in this game with individual matchups?
No, I think we saw Kemba really struggle against John Wall. Kemba I liked just because he was so hot coming in and his usage was really high. But like Wall is a very solid defender. I think very underrated. He had a rep for being kind of just a steals guy early on that kind of gambled passing lanes and wasn't super solid. But he's kind of dispelled all that all that talk. So. I can see Isaiah putting up something like 6 for 20 or something, where it's like a lot of shots, but like the raw numbers aren't going to be something that blow you away.
Yeah, I'm only on Isaiah in some tournaments. His price doesn't really offer that same upside cash-wise with this matchup, so he's not a great play in cash. And yeah, I agree. Wall is absolutely an underrated defender. And Avery Bradley, he's priced up now, and he was shooting out of control. He's on that JR from three, kind of shooting hot, and he's got some downside, some bad floor as evidenced by last game. With his price, I don't think you can consider him in cash at all, even with this high total, which is juicy. But yeah, no one in this team really stands out as cash. Solinger's cheap price. He did go 21-8 against him last time in only 22 minutes, but the 22 minutes are the main problem here.
Yeah, and you just I totally agree with you there. It's really hard to not be on board with any of these guys fully given this total because obviously someone has to score. And given this team composition, there aren't like a ton of mouths that are going to just step up and drop like 15, 20 points. I mean, you're not looking
Right.
at Jay Crowder as that guy. You're not looking at Amir Johnson as that guy. Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
are
It's
we
usually Isaiah, so and
right?
tough matchup, so you can kind of fall back on him and yeah, they're gonna score, but yeah, it'll be distributed. Turner is an intriguing tournament play with Smart out. He's been going a little more minutes, so he's only implied at 21. I think he has a good chance to surpass that.
I think that's where kind of the scoring will come from a little bit more than we expect. I think Turner's really intriguing to me because he's going to come in with that second unit. I don't really, uh, I'm not concerned about like Gary Neal or Sessions or any of those guys that they have coming out of that second unit. So I think Turner's really sneaky at 5K as a tournament play. I think this is he has a pretty safe floor given the minutes increase lately, and he's proven that he can definitely take advantage of increased opportunity in the right matchups in the past. So um,
Yeah, he's capable of having big lines. And yeah, as far as Crowder goes, I'm pretty often in this game. Washington's really good with turnovers usually. They did have 24 last game. The Celtics create the most turnovers in the league,
yeah.
mainly because Crowder leads the league in steals. But this isn't a great matchup for him like he had in Philly, where even then he was a suspect tournament play, in my opinion.
Plus his minutes are down too. Like if you look at his minutes, he's only played like 26 or something the past couple of games. And I think I did a preliminary sweep of minutes. I had him somewhere between 26 and 28. Not in that 32 range that he was playing earlier this season. So just the minutes are enough to keep me away from him. I think I'm good with taking shots in tournaments with Isaiah, Avery Bradley, and Jared Sullinger too. I think
Mhm.
Sully might be the sneaky guy. I think he kind of has the biggest like him and Turner are like the biggest sneaky big line potentials here. That you'll look at the box score after. I'm like, damn, like those guys both scored 20 points. And with Isaiah drawing Wall and Bradley drawing Bradley Beal, I think those two are kind of in spots where they might funnel it and ask those guys to do a little bit more.
Yeah, I completely agree. And maybe on another day they'd be cash considerable, but we got 11 games and there are some pretty high totals later. So the 207 total in this game is worth a little less given the slate. Maybe on another slate you'd kind of be forced to pick one guy on this team in cash because of the implied total. But on this slate, I think you can kind of focus on tournaments for this team.
Agreed.
So next game we got is the Hawks at the Grizzlies. Total of 196. Memphis favored by 3. Millsap really is still that guy who's undervalued always in cash, always produces, has such a high floor. He's kind of the only guy I'm looking for here, really in cash on Atlanta.
Yeah, and we've talked offline too about how he might be one of the most underrated players in the NBA. Just how he carries his team on a night to night basis. I know Al is a little bit inconsistent from game to game. He has big games but he has a tendency to kind of underwhelm, especially in the scoring department and others. And yeah, Millsap 45 DK points over the last week. He's really been carrying this team with all these moving parts in and out around him due to injury. And so news and notes to start off with. Tiago Splitter already ruled out with that right hip injury. Kent Bazemore questionable. And Budenholzer said that he's not ready to commit to Bazemore starting over Cephalosha when he does come back. And those if Bazemore does play, I'm off both him and Cephalosha and Cash just because I don't know how that minute split is going to go. It might be like 26 and 26 or 27 and 24. I like Bazemore only when he's kind of like solidified as a starter, and he's going to get 28 to 30 minutes. And I just don't know that with how well Cephalosha has been playing recently.
Right, yeah, Tabo has been playing really well. I kind of ripped on him on the last pod for his lack of upside, but he came through big. He's had some good games. He's shooting well. I really like Millsap in this. If the Grizzlies start small again with Jeff Green and Barnes, I think Millsap will have a huge mismatch there. So we'll have to see who the Grizzlies roll out there. And with Horford, I'm on him in tourneys, not much. I generally never really take centers against Marc Gasol, and at his price, you have Okafor 7K, Marc Gasol 72, Dwight 72, Monroe 71. You got a lot of guys right in that range with better matchups.
What do you think about Jeff Teague?
Yeah, Teague, has a very solid price.
Schroeder hasn't been playing at all lately.
Yeah,
Schroeder's been kind of glued to the bench because he's been pretty bad.
He has.
Yeah, I mean, he's been playing. I mean, it's deserved. He's playing like 15, 16 minutes like recently, even with them being a little shorthanded. So
yeah, my only concern with Teague is he generates a lot of his scoring at the rim off drives, and I just think Gasol is a pretty solid presence there for him. I think Teague's third in the league in field goal attempts off drive, so it's really my only concern. But he's definitely at a solid price, and I love him for tournaments.
yeah, Conley's a tough draw too. So I agree with you. Tournaments only. Yeah, that pretty much does it for the rest of this team. This is the first of a back-to-back, so we'll have to watch what happens with Corver and Cephalosha. Both are listed as probable. Both have played in previous back-to-back, so I expect them both to play both legs, but just something to monitor.
Right. Yeah, Corver has some upside. Memphis is still having trouble defending the three, but he's so scoring dependent that you can't really go him in cash at all, and yeah, he might not even play. So tournament-wise, really, really low shares in my opinion.
Agreed. Not enough upside for tournaments.
On the Memphis side, we'll have to see who they start. It's a little bit different matchup for them to keep starting Jeff Green and Matt Barnes. So we'll see if they maybe start JaMychal in this matchup, or if Zach Randolph comes back. He's still questionable. So we'll see what they do there. I think if Zach Randolph's back, obviously, I think Jeff Green and Barnes both lose a lot of value. And even with this matchup, I'm off them both if they kind of take each other's minutes, if JaMychal has to match up with Millsap, or how they're going to match up with Millsap and Horford down low. So I think Barnes and Green, this might be the time to jump ship.
Yeah, I'm a little bit more willing to consider Barnes at 3,600 on DK. I think that's still a profitable enough spot, even on a full slate, to where I'll consider him. Maybe not like one of my for sure plays, but he's on the radar definitely if Zebo sits again. So, but I am off Jeff Green. I'm with you there. JaMychal hasn't been playing well, so like
right, he's been very bad. Brian has to be disappointed.
Right, so like even for matchups, like with him playing this at this level, I don't see him just like being forced to play more minutes, given how well Barnes has looked. I mean, Barnes has played pretty well, really.
Yeah, he has. It just honestly makes me like Millsap even more. He'll have a pretty nice size advantage.
Yeah, Millsap at 8K is super strong. I think it's who did we talk about earlier that was 81? That was one of our favorite players on DK.
John Wall?
John Wall, yeah. So would you take Wall or Millsap, or are they about?
I think it'll be hard for me maybe not to go both, honestly. I'd probably take Wall if I had to choose one, just because I'd really like to kind of get Anthony Davis in there at the power forward slot.
Agree. Okay.
And then for cash, Memphis-wise, if depending on the lineup, yeah, like Barnes is super cheap. Jeff Green's not as cheap. He's still 4,800 on FanDuel. So if he draws a star and they're going to play him a lot, you can still consider him. I still like Marc Gasol. He's coming off a disappointing game, but if Zebo's out again, he's still going to see big minutes. Brandon Wright's still, or he's doubtful, or he's out.
Yeah, he's still out. Yeah. I don't think he'll be back for a while.
Right. So, yeah, Atlanta's 24th in defensive efficiency against centers. And I like Gasol a lot. Pretty much always his price isn't really rising, and he's got a safe floor. He struggled last game, but I'm ready to get back on him in this game.
Yeah, I've been on him even with his struggles. I understand that people got let down a little bit, but I think you just kind of trust the process and, like look at his situation. It's really favorable. So like, yes, he won't crush value 100% of the time. There's some times where he's gonna disappoint. But I think you're putting yourself in a very good situation by betting on Mark here, just because his minutes, his usage, his role. If Zach Randolph is out,
Right. Yeah, and I prefer him on DraftKings. He's 7,200 there still. Yeah, and 7,800 on FanDuel. So it's a pretty big jump. So definitely DraftKings for him. And it's pretty much it for Memphis. I
yeah,
can see if Sibo's back, maybe, but I just doubt he'll go that many minutes to really offer too much upside. But definitely his ownership levels will be very, very low.
yeah, I agree. I do question the upside to an extent because I only expect him to play 26 to 27 minutes when he does come back because A, that was like what he was kind of playing at before, and B, he's coming off an injury. So I do question the upside there with the minutes. So he's in tournament consideration, but definitely not at the top of tournament lists on guys you should consider there.
Right. Yeah, I agree. I mean, he could break value, which would be nice, but just his overall upside that you'll need to kind of win a tournament is kind of lacking there.
Yeah.
Let's move on to the Bulls at the Pacers. 200.5 total, and Pacers favored by 2.5. Aaron Brooks is ruled out.
He has been ruled out, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, cash wise for me, the guy who kind of intrigues me a little bit is Powell at a pretty soft price, 7,100, and Indy's really missing Hibbert down low. They've not been good defensively at the center position. So Powell for me offers some upside that I think cash wise at 7,100 is pretty intriguing for me.
Yeah, I'm fine. I'm fine there. I don't think Pal is probably going to be one of my favorite cash plays, but I can see the reasoning there. If we're going to go super small sample size, he did only put up like 27 DK points in their earlier meeting, so um, that concerns me a little bit. But I'm with you on like trusting the process and kind of just the thought process behind why you like him.
Right. And then Derrick Rose, I mean, this is at Indy. You got any feelings on Rose still hating the Pacers?
He put up
He
40
did. He did
put
put
up
up
42
right.
DK points. So last
Yeah.
game he was their leading DK point scorer. Though that did come without George Hill, so he was playing against Monte, which is
Right.
dramatically
A
better,
step up. Yeah.
right,
So
in his favor.
he's a tournament play for me.
Yeah.
He's got a much tougher individual matchup, obviously, than last game as well. So, but he's just been so inconsistent with his field goal attempts too. There's some games where he's really passive, and some he kind of just takes over. This definitely could be a game where he takes over, and he's still leading the team in a 25.7 usage rate. So he's an
So
interesting option.
So what I did call the last time Rose went off, I forgot the spot, but I called it. I called on a pod with Brian. More to like, it started out like me needling him, but like because he doesn't like D Rose, but like I actually like talked myself into D Rose's tournament play, and he actually did go off because the thought process behind that was like, um, I forgot who it was, but Jimmy had a guard, a really good wing. They were playing a good wing player. It might have actually been Indy.
Yeah, I mean, and that's when he went off.
So
He also had Monte on him, but yeah, it makes
so
sense.
So my thought process was that, Jimmy has to do a little bit more on the defensive end. He might be a little more worn down from chasing around an elite wing player like Paul George that fits that profile, that opens up a little bit more usage and a little bit more offensive responsibility for Rose. Not my top favorite tournament player, but someone that will go definitely under the radar on a full slate like this. And he does, he has shown that ceiling in the past. So he's just not someone you're kind of rolling the dice on, and then he just gives you like 30. Like he has a 40-point ceiling.
Right. Yeah, I agree, which makes him a pretty prime tournament option and not really great for cash. And yeah, like you said, Butler, his price is expensive and he'll be busy on defense, I would assume. Shooting guard is fairly weak overall, so I think some tournament exposure is fine with Butler, but I can't really see myself going him in cash.
I would generally agree with you there. Yeah. Man, I love Jimmy though. In general, I'm almost always tend to endorse him, but yeah, I agree. This is probably not my favorite spot for him. more tournament for sure, I think.
Yeah, he's just expensive. He has a high floor, so if you want to go that route and spend on shooting guard but not get up to Harden really, then I think he's an option. But otherwise, I think you can kind of save some there and spend up at other positions really.
You interested in Nico at all? Or is it that front court rotation a little bit too volatile for you?
Yeah, I'm not too interested in Nico.
Okay. Nico being Nikola Mirotic.
Yeah. What are you at all or?
No, I just wanted to note that he's been playing well lately.
Yeah, and Bulls are playing at a pretty high pace lately too. So this game's it's going to have some good plays in it. So yeah, I wouldn't be opposed to some tournament shares with Nico.
Okay.
And that's about it for that. Indy side, is there anyone in cash that you're really willing to roll? Paul George seen his price climb pretty high, as it should.
Right. There are probably other cash game plays I prefer to PG. I'm going to get up against Jimmy. I think you're kind of playing with fire there. Just hoping he is able to get the better of that matchup.
It's a tough matchup. I mean, Bulls allow the second fewest turnovers in the league. Paul George scores a lot in ISO and transition. Bulls have by far the best transition D in the league. So it's just not a good spot. And with his price climbing to 10-2 on DraftKings from 9-9, it's not ideal. I think you can definitely go other routes. I mean, I think Durant is cheaper and LeBron's like right there too. So I like them both more than Paul George in this spot.
Can you look up if that last Indy Bulls game went into overtime or not? I just want to have an idea of whether.
I don't think it did.
Okay. I'll just talk to. So, I don't really see many other great plays on this team. Monte, I'm off with George Hill playing again, and I do think there might be some value in that front court potentially, because the last time they did play the Bulls, Mahimni went for 29 DK points and Jordan Hill went for 26. And Jordan Hill has been playing pretty well the last couple of games, so I wouldn't mind him at 4,900 in tournaments as an option. I like I said, I think there's going to be some value in that front court, whether it's him or Mahimni.
Right, and I always like Jordan Hill in tournaments. He's a great points per minute producer and definitely has a lot of upside. If he sees some minutes, then he can definitely come through. The game didn't go into overtime. George Hill was out as well as Stuckey, so they were thin in the backcourt. And Paul George took 20 shots and hit 4 of 5 from 3. So he didn't have a huge game. No steals or blocks because the Bulls really limit their turnovers. So at 10-2, I'm off him and generally kind of off this team for cash for sure. In tournament, I think you can go maybe Mahimi, maybe Hill. And George Hill is a pretty soft price. Rose isn't really scary at defense or anything. So I could see going Hill in some tournaments as well.
Yeah, I agreed.
That's about it for that game. Let's move on to Detroit at Oklahoma City. High total once again, which I think is always going to be the theme with Oklahoma City right now. 207 total, and Oklahoma City's favored by 8. You think this game will be pretty closer than 8?
I don't know. I don't think so. I probably side with OKC winning by double digits and pushing this game. But I still think Russ and Katie will get theirs. We'll get to them after. We'll start with Detroit. I think it's the same 3 always that we.
Yeah, always. It's always Drummond.
Everyone else, yeah. Drummond, Reggie Jackson, and Marcus Morris. I mean, everybody else might as well not exist because they just do absolutely nothing. And their minutes are all over.
Very inconsistent, yeah.
Yeah, like Ilyasova will lose minutes to Tolliver, and it's just a complete mess. And KCP, you give him 50 minutes, he'll barely.
He might get 14 or something still. So, I do generally like the Pistons in this spot. Kind of the Thunder play at a really fast pace, which I think suits Reggie really well. Even Marcus, too, kind of in transition. But, they're absolutely – all 3 of those guys are tournament plays with probably Reggie being my favorite out of the three, even considering price. I do like Drummond, but OKC is the best rebounding team in the league. I do think he's a very solid tournament player. We were off him, well, in cash for sure against Whiteside, but he just kind of dismantled Whiteside the other night.
Oh yeah,
It's not easy to do. So generally for cash, I think you could save at center. I don't think you really have to go Drummond here. But I think he's a great tournament option.
agreed. The only tournament downside is maybe his ownership won't be quite as low as you want it to be, because people just generally are still on Drummond, and he's always considered one of the best center options in any slate, just given his reputation. But yeah, I think he does offer legit 50-point upside. He's been averaging 42 over the last week, so it's like not a huge stretch for him to get to that point. But yeah, Reggie is borderline cash for me, really borderline. But I side with more tournaments because I think Russ might give him some fits.
Yeah, that's where I was at too. Just having his hands full with Russ is obviously not ideal.
I can see like 6 turnovers or something where he's having to force things and go up tempo and really push the envelope and then be a little bit more prone to mistakes. So
Right, which he is capable of doing in the
absolutely.
past. So yeah, and I still love his upside though. I'm really high on Jackson and Drummond when they have pretty solid matchups. So this isn't really one of them particularly, but they still offer upside and definitely need some tournament exposure.
All right, let's move on to
Yeah, that's it for them. So Oklahoma City side, yeah, start things off with obviously Westbrook and Durant are the primary plays here.
Yeah, are you still on? I mean, Westbrook's at 11-1 on DK. What is he at on FanDuel? You have that?
Yeah, he's 11-6 on FanDuel, so I'm not
Oh
going him cash either side.
gosh.
Yeah, I can't do it. It makes it really hard for the rest of your team to kind of turn out really solid and safe. Whereas a tournament, absolutely go him for sure in this game. Cash wise, I think Durant has a much more manageable.
Yeah,
So
at 96.
yeah, I'm pretty high on Durant. There's
Yeah.
really no one to stop him in this game.
Well, there's no one really to stop him in the league, so let's not give Marcus Morris too much grief. I think Marcus Morris is okay, but
Right.
Kevin Durant is Kevin Durant. He's showing no ill effects coming off that hamstring injury. I think he's at about 49 DK points since he's come back. So
Yeah, implied at 42. So yeah, he's kind of crushing value there. DraftKings especially, I think, he's pretty primary cash play, I think.
Where's he at on FanDuel?
He's 10-2 on FanDuel. So he's still, he's fine cash play there as well, but much prefer him on DraftKings at 9-6.
Yeah, I think that's probably one of my one of my more favorite cash game plays for the higher price guys for sure. If you can, anytime you can get KD under 10K, I'm all about that. Just because he's one of the top 3 players in this league, and to have that immense level of talent at such a discount is such a luxury.
Right, yeah, he's definitely a steal on DraftKings. As far as the rest of his team, I mean, it's really a two-man show. So Ibaka's usage rate is lowered with Durant back now, and Pistons don't get their shot blocked too often anyway. So I'm pretty off him, and same thing with Cantor. It's just a huge matter of minutes, and really his floor is very low, and he's only valuable in blowouts in certain spots. So I'm off him as well.
No Dion Waiters.
No waiters. I mean, I don't think this game will get too out of hands. I think Detroit's a little bit better. I kind of think there'll be a sneaky cover in this game, honestly. But, yeah, I'm not too high on waiters. We've seen his ceiling a couple times, but it's so random and rare. Really, he plays so poor often.
Yeah, more of a dart throw tournament option. I'm just hoping have that thought ladder that that this game gets a little crazy out of hand, and then waiters can come in and take advantage of their second unit of Detroit.
Right, which kind of is their first unit because they play such big minutes anyways. But I never feel comfortable having any money on waiters in general. So
that's true.
Let's move on to Sixers at Rockets. Total of 201.5, and Houston's favored by 12, even though they've been playing awful. And we just saw Philly almost get their first win against the Celtics. Pretty crazy.
Pretty crazy stuff. And I think they got a. Do they have a date against the Warriors coming up fairly soon? I think that'll be
Oh yeah.
Clash of the Titans. Yeah. So not to bring back bad memories. But let's start off with Robert Covington. The guy, someone on this pod. He did the big balls dance over here and faded him on DK when he
4,400
absolutely crushed and had like career high rebounds,
steals.
Just all of the everything.
I had Matt Barnes in his place. I'm feeling no ill effects. I still put up a really high 292 and a half. I think I put up, so I'm not too worried about it. But yeah, at the start it was brutal, and he was a guy, right after that strategy pod where I said don't get too cute in cash games. This is an example of that. Covington on DraftKings, don't get too cute. He was playing 35 minutes, high usage rate. He's starting now. They're going to need him to step up. He's got rebound upside. I mean, he's a great cash game play. Houston's been awful defensively. So he's by far my favorite cash game play, arguably my only one on the Philly side.
Agreed. And I mean, you can kind of still consider Kanan as a bargain at 39, especially because he's gonna remain in the starting lineup for the interim while Nick Stauskas is out. He's out for at least another 2 games while they finish out that road trip. And I'm mispronounced for some reason, but Cannon.
Cannonball.
Cannonball. He started out super slow. I think the first quarter or so, but yeah, he can get things going quick. And we saw that second half especially was massive. Me and Jay were tracking it together offline, and at the end, what did he have? 30-something, 29, somewhere around there.
27.25. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
And he played awful the first half, so I like him again here. They were playing Pressey too at the end of the game, which really made no sense to me, other than maybe they just want him to get on the court against Boston.
Exactly, that was the only thing. I think he had people like there, and it was like this build up coming in that he was super excited to play against Boston.
It's Pressey. I mean, leave him on the bench. So I don't anticipate that happening again. I think Cannon's minutes will be a little more secure. The only thing I'm kind of worried about, and I'd like to see him kind of just play over McConnell anyways, but I mean, who's going to really guard Harden here if this is their backcourt? You think Hollis will have to play more at the 2?
I don't know. Do they put Covington on him or something?
They could, but, then who's Cannon going to guard? I mean, it's just kind of presents a mismatch. The only downside, in which I kind of have him more tourney, I still lean cash on Cannon, but it's just a matchup problem. And I'd like to see McConnell lose minutes. He's been playing, not great lately.
I think that might actually happen because I think Cannon has really done well in his opportunity. And I think that him getting promoted and him playing like so many minutes, like all of a sudden, speaks a lot to kind of like where Brett Brown is on him.
I agree.
I'm not really afraid to throw him out there for big minutes and willing to trust him. And especially when they're behind.
Yeah, in this game.
To be, right?
Exactly.
They'll need Cannon scoring more than McConnell doing his young Nash thing.
Yeah. McConnell's not going to keep him in this game with his free throws anyway. So, I'm still pretty high on Cannon. He's 3,900 still on DraftKings. So he's a cash play. The only thing that worries me a little bit is just the matchup and where his minutes will go if Hollis has to play a little more D on Harden.
Yeah. McConnell might crush value though if he finally goes to the free throw line once. Yeah,
that would be
like a huge dimension to his value.
I don't know what I'll do when he does go to. It's going to be just unreal. It'll be crazy. I'll probably periscope my feet.
Like a league pass alert. TJ McConnell at the free throw.
At the line. Yeah, I hope he bricks it too. Are you on Jalil Okafor at all in this game?
Not against Dwight.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think this is gonna be tough for him. Obviously, this isn't a back-to-back for Houston, so Dwight's a full go. Keep in mind, we'll note this in future pods, but they have a back-to-back coming up. I think like Sunday and Monday, and he said he's gonna play 25 minutes in those.
Yeah.
So just like for the future, just like bookmark that he's gonna be play limited minutes on the back-to-back. He's gonna play both legs, but in this matchup, I'm not a back-to-back. He's gonna play full minutes, start and be a thorn in the side for Jalil.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, Ja's leading the league with 109 points in the post up. So just going against Dwight, where all of his points or a large source of them are coming in the post up, presents some obviously difficult matchup problems.
Yeah, Dwight's not the defender he was in Orlando,
Yeah,
but he's
but
still a very solid defender in his own right.
right, yeah, in the post, he's still going to give Ja problems. And then Noel has just been Nerlens has been so bad this season.
Yeah.
Unreal. I still like him in tournaments, though. His ownership is so low, and I might just believe in him more than most people, but I still think he has upside. Um,
I
and
think
and I don't want
I
to be later on it than I'd rather have some shares of him sooner than later when he finally does kind of get his legs back and pick things up a little, because I think it's inevitable. I think he will come back solid at some point.
agreed, and I think that's a generally a good point that Jay just made is like you want to bet on talent, right? If a talented player is slumping, that's a great buy low. So like a Karl Anthony Towns, for example, I probably won't be on him like in cash, but like in tournaments, I'm gonna be betting on his talent to come through and kind of um, you know um, break the slump and just kind of shine through and um,
Right. Yeah, you're not going to get too many opportunities to roster Noel at 2% in a large field tournament. And when he finally does break value, it just means his ownership's going to increase, and you're going to be chasing that game he had the last game and the next one at a much higher ownership percentage.
Let me ask you a question. Are you worried about this this kind of setup when Houston might go small and they might not go to the dual big man look as much if Terrence
Yeah,
Jones doesn't play a lot of minutes?
right. I mean, yeah, absolutely. Terrence only played 19 minutes last game, so yeah, they could do that again. So yeah, it'd be tough with Noel there, kind of getting shafted a little bit if Ja stays at center to match up with Dwight. So yeah, absolutely, it's worrisome, and obviously he's far from a cash game player for the foreseeable future. But I'll still have shares just in case he gets off to a hot start early, and they'll have to kind of keep him in if he's playing well.
Yeah, agree.
And that's pretty much it for Philly. I'm sure unless there's anyone else you like on that squad.
Can I name five players? Hollis Thompson, Jakar Sampson,
Yeah, Samson on the wing. Yeah, yeah.
um, Rashawn Holmes.
Oh
Got,
yeah, he
that
came
start.
back.
Got
Yeah,
that start.
yeah.
Christian Wood. Let's,
Right.
let's, let's
Wood
dig
got a
deeper.
Wood
Let's
got a
go.
start too,
Let's
right?
go. Jeremy
Yeah,
Grant. Let's go.
yeah. I actually kind of like Jeremy Grant.
I
I
do
like,
like
I like
Jeremy
his
Grant.
length. Yeah, he's
Yeah.
gonna get those minutes. All right,
Yeah.
we'll move on. We'll quit boring you with the worst team in professional sports. Their third string player.
Oh, let me mention this though. We gotta maybe keep an eye on potential discipline for Ja because
That's right. Good
right
call. Yeah,
right he
absolutely.
had this altercation
Celtics fan.
with the Celtics
Of
fan
course,
who
Boston.
right. um, so and obviously punched the guy. So and it was on TMZ and there's video evidence. So
Right. Yeah. Check out the video. Obviously, Ja throws a mean hook, but yeah, I mean, how many people is he gonna have to punch if everybody?
I
I mean, the
know
Sixers do. Everybody's
it
gonna say that to
sucks.
him. Yeah,
I mean, sorry, dude. I mean, I don't know.
but
Yeah,
I
so
don't know.
we'll have to keep an eye on that. So obviously, if Ja does face some discipline and is suspended potentially, then Nerlens definitely
Right. Nerlens even actually, I'm now that I'm remembering this, I kind of do think he'll face disciplinary action. They're 0-16. I think Brett Brown kind of has a good handle on his players and discipline. Popovich kind of wise, same sheet of cloth. So I do expect kind of Ja to be suspended, or that could absolutely happen.
yeah. So keep
We'll keep you posted,
yeah, we'll keep
obviously.
you posted. Just stuff. Be glued to the Twitter page, and we'll give you a heads up either way.
Right. All right. Let's move on to the other side of this game. Houston. Ty Lawson basically out of the rotation. I have a feeling he's going to start hitting that bottle again.
Too soon, Joey. Too soon.
No, man. As a Denver resident, there are no shots uncalled for Ty blowing off children's basketball camps to go on a
Showing,
late
yeah,
night bender. So
showing up to practice with reeking of a boot.
right,
Not another high point of his.
yeah, everyone in Denver is pretty happy with the developments with Ty. Glad to see him out of town. But it is crazy he's out of the rotation. It's arguably the worst offseason
Yeah.
that there has been.
Everybody was talking about how that was the X factor, how that was the move that would
Right.
propel them into the upper echelon of the Western Conference and up there with potentially pushing the Warriors because Ty Lawson gave them a dimension that they lacked, a ball handler, a floor spacer next to James Harden, blah 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 blah.
Yeah,
But it's a lot easier to do things in theory than actually have them work out. So.
right, and it doesn't help that he's just as bad at defense as Harden when Harden doesn't try. So it's a horrible, and yeah, he's sitting on that pine. So for this,
You take a big gamble on his character too. I mean, just
right, yeah,
the volatility of him, and you don't really know what you're going to get. So that really kind of factored into it as well.
yeah, exactly, and that's why they're 5-10 with I think 10 of their first 15 games at home even. So. But for this game, let's look past Lawson, and I think we got two pretty solid cash game options with Harden and Dwight. I think they're both in a great spot. Harden, the Sixers.
We just talked about him.
Yeah,
how they don't have anybody to guard him.
Right,
really.
Huge mismatch. Awful in transition. Awful in defending ISO. Awful against the three. So it's a pretty perfect situation for Harden.
What are they good at, Jay?
They're not a bad overall defensive team. I don't think. I've been saying it all year. They're not like as bad as they were last year, I don't think, as far as actual defense.
That's a super low bar. That's a super low bar.
It is, but this team's plagued with turnovers mainly. I don't think their individual defense is too terrible, but they're always out of position and they have length. They have guys.
Jeremy Grant, Nerlens.
Right.
They have some guys.
Yeah, and I think Ja will get better, but right now, I'm not seeing it for tomorrow. That's for sure. Right. So Harden should have his way with this team, and he plays big minutes pretty much regardless. I'm not worried about the blowout for him at all.
Yeah, and I think he's definitely has like Curry potential in this matchup where he can just go crazy, put up some crazy numbers in 3 1/3, 3 1/4 quarters. And hit value just in that limited time, just based on how much of the offense he's going to monopolize without Lawson in there anymore, and with this juicy matchup on tap, and with Dwight, I think it obviously helps only that he's going up against another like formidable big man because they're going to kind of knee him in there to bang and do his thing. Obviously, Ja can hit the glass a little bit. It's not super soft, but Dwight's going to show the youngster a couple things.
Yeah, I think so too. Hopefully he gets more than 5 shots. Houston's lost 3 in a row. I just can't see them continually not feeding Dwight. Yeah, Ja has a defensive rating of 106.9. So, Dwight should feast in this matchup, and he's got a really favorable price. So, I love him at center, and Harden I love at my top of my shooting guard list. I think it's a great spot to pay up for him on pretty much both sides there. So,
yeah, and I wouldn't be opposed to stacking or to putting those two together because they don't really negatively correlate. They do two like really different things. Harden scores, and Dwight is all about the rebounds and the blocks. He hasn't been taking shots lately, so like really hasn't really factored into his value lately at all. So
which is crazy for when he does get some field goal attempts, he's really going to go off.
That's just like the cherry on top. That's the bonus that gives him like even tournament upside.
Yeah, he's going to pay off his salary, I think, no problem. Philly's going to miss a lot of shots, and Dwight's going to clean the glass here. Tons of upside, tons of high floor. He's a great cash option at center on both sides.
Is this a sneaky Ariza spot for you or no?
Yeah, no, it absolutely is. Yeah, Philly, terrible in transition, turn the ball over all the time. I mentioned it on a pod where Ariza is one of those guys who's always in these spots where people are so quick to overlook because it's Trevor Ariza. Let's play Dwight, let's play Harden. But Ariza is in a great spot here with how bad Philly is and how much they turn it over. They can't defend the three.
Mm-hmm.
Ariza should have no problems hitting threes, grabbing steals, scoring in transition. So he's in a great spot. I like him a lot for tournament. I probably wouldn't lean that way in cash, even though small forward isn't that great, value-wise often. But I think, yeah, for tournaments, absolutely.
I think if you're putting your DK roster together and happen to have 57, 5800, 5900 left over, then Ariza is sitting there for you as an option. I wouldn't mind it.
Right. It's hard. It's hard with Covington cheaper, but
right.
Yeah,
he's not a guy I'm starting my rosters with, but like one I wouldn't mind in there if things kind of swing that way and I have a spot left where he just fits.
Right. Yeah, it's a great spot for him. And then Terrence Jones is pretty risky and honestly not too much upside, really.
Agreed.
So coming off 19 minutes last game is worrisome. I don't think he did well 2 games ago either. So some tournament shares just because of the game, and they're going to score a lot of points. And, he does have a good matchup, I think, when he's in, if, Jaw's out. So we'll see with him. But, yeah, tournaments only for me for sure with Terrence.
Agreed.
Let's move on to the next game real quick. We got the Spurs at the Nuggets. Might actually try to go to this game finally. And we got a total of 196.5. Spurs favored by 9.5.
Yeah, you probably don't want to go to this game because
my boy Duncan is out, so that's gonna
be he is out. Duncan and Manu Ginobili.
My other boy,
didn't travel with the Spurs to Denver in the first of a back-to-back. So I think this is really juicy spot for some cash game plays here, namely Kawhi Leonard and LaMarcus Aldridge. I think both those guys. Oh, and I'll throw a third in there who I really like as well, Tony Parker, who's been playing really well lately.
Great, yeah.
Yeah, he's been playing some great ball. Seen his minutes like.
Yep, 5 games in a row over 30.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So he's playing substantial minutes. Patty Mills will probably have to play a little bit more too in this one too. With no Manu, they'll kind of have to fill in with some Patty, some Rasul Butler, some. Who else do they have there on the wing? Kyle Anderson.
Kyle Anderson, yeah. Right. I love Kyle Anderson.
Yeah, a little slow-mo. So, so I think I'm good with Kawhi. I'm good with Aldridge. I'm good with Parker. I think they're this is a 103 implied right now, which is, pretty good for the Spurs. So,
I think Aldridge is in a great spot, has a fantastic matchup. With Duncan out, I think it's going to be really hard not to play Aldridge and cash. Denver's the 4th worst defensive rating in the league. So obviously Kawhi's floor is incredibly high. Really the only concern I have is that it's a first leg of a back-to-back. And if this game gets out of hand, I could see Popovich resting their starters early. But they are without Manu and Duncan, so that kind of puts that pressure off a little bit of the blowout factor and Popovich kind of pulling his guys. I don't see them playing deep in the 4th quarter on the first leg of a back-to-back.
Kawhi's minutes floor especially is pretty safe. Like I don't envision any scenario where he plays less than 30 minutes.
I don't either. Yeah,
his realistic floor is like 32,
right?
With an actual range of like 34 to 38.
Yeah, and even his realistic floor scoring wise is like 35 almost. So
right, and he's gonna get like 2 or 3 steals from Moutier at least.
I mean, everybody on the team will get at least 2 or 3 steals from Moutier. So, yeah, him and Aldridge I love in cash. I don't mind going both. I probably wouldn't really go all 3 with Parker. And I'd kind of maybe leave one out just because on an 11-game slate, it's really, really scary to play 3 guys on one team. You never know what can happen. So I think that's pretty risky. But, yeah, Parker, Denver's awful against point guards. And Parker's the kind of guy who will school a rookie. He's got no problem. He scored a season-high 25 against Moutier like 8 days ago or whatever. Yeah, 8 days ago. So his price has risen, so he's not at that absolute steal the way he's playing where you were like, oh, Tony Parker's only 4,800 or whatever. So, but he's still in a great spot here, and Manu out helps him, Duncan out. It's less shots for those guys. So I could see Parker having his way with Moutier getting to the paint like he always does.
I agree with you on not playing all 3. I think I would play 2. I would just like play around the roster construction and see like which 2 fit the best. I like kind of like all 3 like equally because they're all like I think Parker's been playing, his implied, based on what he's been playing at recently, is around 7,200. And
Yeah,
he's
it's
priced at
crazy.
53 on DK. So I think he might even be like the best. I don't know. Aldridge is close, but
Yeah, yeah. I was gonna
like a
say
points per dollar. Like him and Aldridge are probably your best like points per dollar bargains.
right, and yeah, I love them both. Absolutely, and with small forward Kawhi is still great value, but you could go something like Aldridge, Parker, and then forward spots on DK, something like
Yeah,
Covington and Durant, who's underpriced.
right.
You don't really have that need for Kawhi as so much on this slate, where Aldridge is a great bargain and Tony Parker's a great bargain as well.
So we're gonna get a couple questions on the rest of these guys, because people are gonna be intrigued, and two guys are gonna be intrigued with the first being Danny Green. Do you see him being tournament viable without Ginobili in there?
His upside hasn't really been that strong, so tournament wise, I'm not super high on him. And Spurs are so deep, it's not like Green's just going to go like 35 minutes because Manu's out in any scenario, really. So he
Yeah.
has to really, really be hot from three, which this is a good game for him to do. So, yeah, he has tournament appeal. I wouldn't go him in cash because the minutes still aren't going to be super concrete, really, and he's a little more scoring dependent. Although in this game, I guess he has other opportunities to kind of rack up a decent stat line.
And then the other two that people are going to ask about, David West and Boris Diaw, because Duncan is out. Are you buying either of those guys for cash or tourney?
Not really. I think they kind of limit each other. I can see both kind of going 25 to 28 minutes. We'll see who draws the start. I wouldn't be surprised if it was Diao in this spot, but it could easily be West as well. So I'm not too high on either of them. I don't think West offers a lot of upside. I honestly think Diao actually has more upside, but I think his minutes now that West is here are a little limited. So I'm kind of off both of them, honestly, in any format.
Yeah, I'm off both of them too, especially considering this is the first leg of a back-to-back. I don't think Pop is going to want to push their minutes above a certain threshold. So I can see the starter, who's ever the starter, probably gets
Yeah.
like 26 minutes, and then whoever like come off the bench might get like 22 minutes or something like that. And then they'll play a lot of like Kawhi at the
Mm-hmm.
four as
Yeah.
well, because this is a perfect matchup where they can get away with smaller lineups because Denver, especially given their injury situation, no Fareed, they're gonna have
Mm-hmm.
it's gonna be pretty easy for Pop to get away with it.
Yeah, I actually kind of for a second thought maybe Kyle Anderson would draw the start and they put Kawhi at the four, but I can't see
Yeah,
Popovich really doing that. So, but they absolutely can play small with Fareed out. This is a kind of a game where Gallo could see a lot at the four. So I think West and Diaw are pretty limited in upside that you want from tournament players.
agreed.
Let's move to the Nuggets side. So we got Fareed who's ruled out and Joffrey Laverne's still ruled out. I don't know if he'll ever come back.
So Joffrey actually said that if he feels good during morning shoot around on Friday, he's going to try to press the coaches to let him play. So he's probably like closer to doubtful right now, and then like with a chance of possibly playing on
Yeah.
Friday.
Most times player says that they're still probably out. There's just no
Yeah,
upside. I mean, there's no
yeah.
need to play him. So,
Well,
yeah,
we don't want him to play either because it messes up these
yeah,
other guys.
exactly. So, yeah, I mean, tournament wise, I think Denver's kind of a tournament team for this game against the Spurs. I know they put up some serious points first half against the Spurs last time, and I was like, wow, I blew this game, but I think they only scored like 39 in the second half or something.
Right.
So, you on Nikola Jokic at all?
Yeah, I think Jokic is always.
He
I think.
carved him up last time, and that was even going
Oh
against
yeah.
Duncan.
Oh yeah. No Duncan this time, so it's going to be a little bit
Yeah,
more
and
forgiving.
if you looked at the defensive RPM numbers, I don't always really like those, but Duncan's number one.
Yeah. I mean,
So
I do like
obviously, yeah,
the RPM numbers, but though it is a small sample, they did just recently release those,
right. Yeah,
right?
yeah, like a couple days ago.
Yeah. So yeah, I like Jokic. He's a very good tournament play at 4,600 on DK. I think he's probably what is his price on? You have his price on FanDuel?
Yeah, one sec. Yeah, 4,400 on FanDuel.
Yeah.
So he offers upside. I mean, he doubled
Yeah.
against Golden State. So
And like we warned earlier, Darrell Arthur, be careful. Don't
yeah,
like.
just don't play him. I don't think
Yeah,
really.
I think like more like theoretically it makes sense, right? Because like he's gonna start, he's gonna play good minutes, but like more times than not, he's gonna end up like with a line of like 11-5, like not
Yeah,
like not awful where it's gonna take your lineup, but like not good enough. Like he doesn't offer like serious statistical. I know he had one, I think he had one big game. His first spot start, I think he put up a massive line where people got on him. Based off that, I think he maybe had like 28 DK points or 30 somewhere around
yeah,
there.
he had more. He had 31-6 on FanDuel. So
Yeah,
yeah, that's just kind of it's something that I wouldn't expect, and he can really burn you. I feel like in this game, it's
yeah.
not great. You could see the Nuggets kind of playing small too and mixing kind of Arthur out of the rotation a little bit, and even if he sees 30 minutes, he can still kind of lay a dud. And I don't think that's something with how many guys are great options at power forward and forward that can get you guaranteed points, a higher floor. I don't think you really have to go Arthur. Maybe on a really short slate, uh, you could consider it strongly, but I don't think there's any need really to go him in this game.
So can you pull up Moutier's FanDuel price?
Yeah, Moody is 6K on FanDuel.
So both six K on DK and FanDuel. Yeah, I think that price is pretty fair. Um, I would say he's a tournament play just theoretically because he's going up against Parker, and
Mhm.
Parker's going to have to do more on offense. He's probably going to be even less effective defensively. So I think like theoretically, I like the spot for Moutier, but he's probably not one of my favorite tournament plays. I think you can have some shares, but um,
Yeah, and Jameer's playing a good amount. He's a
yeah.
vet, he's got experience, so I'm not too high on Moody. But yeah, at those prices, and there's a chance this game. I mean, Nuggets are at home, so there's a chance this game could be close. Duncan's out, so I think
Yeah.
Gallo is also another tournament play. I think if this game is close, Gallo's going to do a lot of the scoring, and obviously he draws a tough matchup. Even though the DRPM had Kawhi, I think 60th. I don't know how.
Small sample size. If you go
Yeah.
back to last year, I'm pretty sure he's like right up
Well,
there.
there's no doubt. Yeah, he's
Yeah.
gonna be the best. So yeah, Gallo though in this spot, it's tough, but tournament wise, he's had some big games lately. He's been grabbing a lot of rebounds. I think with Fareed out, that offers a lot more rebounds to him. He is really tall, so he's a fine spot here for tournaments.
He does like these like up tempo type spots, and I think it might be I don't know. I'm not going to say they're like super up tempo, but they're going to be maybe a little bit more up tempo without Tim Duncan in there.
Yeah, I agree.
So I like Gallo just period. I always want some exposure to him because when he has those nights, it's enough to put you in GPP contention.
Yeah, he's had big lines.
Yeah, this year and last year.
Yep.
So I had him so much like down the stretch last year. I probably rostered him every night. I feel like.
Yeah, he was great last year. So,
Yeah, he's still showing some flashes this year too. So just came off a big line just a game or two ago. So yeah, I'm fine with some
right,
Gallo exposure for sure.
definitely. All right, let's move on to your boys, Golden State at Phoenix. I don't have a line for this one or total. I don't
Yeah,
think
no liner total. I'm not sure what they're waiting.
Bledsoe maybe.
No, but
He's
Bledsoe
profitable,
played.
right? Yeah.
Well, there was this. So there was this like there's this report that he tweaked his knee at the end of the
I
game,
did see
but
that. Yeah.
there's been no talk of that whatsoever by like Paul Coro or any of the
Yeah.
bettors. I actually looked for that coming into today, so I don't have him marked with the status right now, but I'll just keep an eye out. But for now, we'll just assume that he's fine. I won't worry.
Right. Yeah, I agree with that. And yeah, this game's pretty juicy. I think Suns play at the second fastest pace, Warriors play at the fourth fastest. So obviously the big difference in the two is the Warriors have the fourth best defensive rating in the league. So much tougher matchup for the Suns here, but great spot for these Warriors guys.
Yeah, I agree. How where does Steph rank in your cash game plays? Is he among the studs? I mean, you probably prefer Durant at 97.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
Um,
tough. I like it's really probably going to come down to Curry and Harden. Pick your one, and I think point guard's just deeper and offers more value than shooting guard, I might lean towards Harden if you have to pick one. But Curry's in a great spot. I think his floor is crazy high in this game.
Yeah, I would lean Harden too, just because you're right that the game flow and the pace of this is awesome. Obviously, though, I think the individual matchup favors Harden a lot more because I'd much rather Harden go up against like Isaiah Cannon or any of the bevy of wing guys the Sixers can throw at him versus like a guy like Bledsoe.
Right. And,
Who's smaller than Curry, but is feisty and can really bother him with his aggression.
Right. Yeah. And I still do like Curry a lot for cash. It'll just come down to roster construction. It depends if you like some of those mid-tiered shooting guards or cheap shooting guards where you can afford Curry, or if you kind of want to go the John Wall 8,100 route at point guard, get a couple other cheaper guys you might not have to pay up for Curry there if you want to go the Harden route. So it's fine either way. Curry's in a great spot. This is a great game. He's obviously going to get points. So he's cash game play, and then obviously he's tournament too, always.
So news and notes here. Bogut dealing with some back stiffness. He tweaked it during a dunk during that disastrous debacle of a blowout against the Lakers the other day. He didn't practice on Wednesday, but he said it wasn't anything serious. This is a first of a back-to-back for the Warriors. So we might see interim coach Luke Walton hold him out potentially as a precaution, even though it might not be anything serious. So you know what that means.
Yeah, and I got excited about that. I saw Bogut questionable. I was like, oh, they'll probably sit him first leg back-to-back. But yeah, Swag Zealy, Festus Zealy. But my only concern is Tyson Chandler, who I think will play because it was just an illness that held him out last game. I think the Warriors, the Suns are such a prime team to play. They play small. I think the Warriors will play very small in this game. And unfortunately for all of us, I don't think Swag Zealy will play that many minutes in this game.
He can still. Yeah, I agree. I'm just trying to talk. I think he's like in consideration. I'll just say that. I don't think he's strong cash game play because like he's priced back down. He's dropped to 4,300 on DK, and I still think like if Bogut's out, he'll start. Obviously, he'll see like 22 to 24, 20 to 24 minutes, somewhere in that range.
I could see him kind of playing 20-ish just because the Suns will go small too.
Yeah.
And especially if Tyson Chandler's held out, which, we don't know yet, but the Suns are more than capable of going small as well. So, but yeah, Swag Zealy, great spot. If he draws the start, which, there's a good chance with Bogut being questionable. We'll see.
At the bare minimum, we get to watch a little bit more, have a little bit more Swag Zealy in our life, which is a bonus for all of us.
I'll tell you what, Swag Zealy's not hurting his back on a dunk.
Exactly.
Bogut needs to leave those for Swag Zealy.
The rim is the one getting hurt on the dunk.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely. And then, with this game, I still like Draymond a lot in this spot. Very fast-paced game. Yeah. I think he will play a lot matchup-wise, playing at the 5. I think that death lineup, we'll see a little bit more of it in this matchup. So Draymond could really fill the stat line in this game.
Yeah, and I think if you want to get a little cute in your tournaments and throw some darts, and you can have a little Klay Thompson in there.
Throw some darts. You're not giving enough credit. I like Klay a lot in tournaments.
In this spot it's fine, but like I really question Klay's ceiling because he just hasn't had big games this season.
He hasn't yet. Yeah, it's the opposite of last season. I think we're going to get that swing, but he's in a great spot. Phoenix doesn't defend the 3 well, and they're not very good at screens, and that's where Klay hits a lot of his threes. So
you're right.
With that backcourt, I don't think they're really going to be chasing him down too well. I think he'll get a lot of open looks.
I just don't want to come on too strong there with the Klay recommendation. Because
tournament only, definitely.
He's not an elite tournament option either. He's just like a good mid-range tournament option that is in a good spot, even though he hasn't been that good this season.
He needs to really score a lot of points.
He's been playing like good minutes. He was like 34, and he still hasn't been doing anything. So like, I don't know, man. Like I obviously watch a lot of Warriors games, and I'm not sure that him and Steph have scored 20 plus together in one game yet this season.
Yeah, which is crazy after
Yeah.
last season.
Yeah.
So yeah. So tournament shares, it's a great spot for him, but yeah, the upside might be a little limited due to his infrequency of having that upside. So and then Swagzilla we got. I kind of like Iguodala, assuming they kind of play small. He's been really consistent lately and racking up some solid points, and I think this game suits him really well with it being very fast paced. So
And both
transition
teams going
scoring,
small.
right? Both teams going small, transition scoring, turnovers for Iggy. So I like him in this spot for tournaments.
I agree. Maybe the downside being that they don't play him too many minutes on the first leg of a back-to-back. I forgot to mention this too. Good that like this stuff comes up, like the same thing with Ja. That the Warriors
Yeah.
have, like Luke Walton has talked about resting players in the near future, and like resting players for a full game, not like blowing teams out of the water. Then
Right, which they do all the time anyway. They're
like,
already resting their players.
right.
What is he
But
talking about?
you got a little, have a little pop in you. Pop,
No, it's true. It's absolutely true. The way the NBA is now, you have to rest. Nobody cares about that record of wins.
Dude, they're so deep too. Like guys
Yeah.
like Spates and Space God and McAdoo are barely playing. Like they have guys like Livingston and Barbosa.
Yeah, get him more minutes. I mean, that's what Pop always does, and that's why his young players play well in the playoffs. They're not
right.
We've seen their minutes, and we see the Hawks doing it now with Coach Bud a little bit, resting his players more. And I think it's definitely the dynamic the league's going outside of Byron Scott, who's the worst coach in sports history, I believe. So,
oh my God!
But yeah, we'll keep an eye on spots where the Warriors might rest their players. I don't think this is one of them. I think we'd hear a little bit by now, maybe, but it's definitely coming down the road for sure, though.
Yeah, agreed.
So, all right, let's move on to the next game. We got Minnesota.
Oh, no, we got the Suns. We got the Suns.
Let's move on to the next team, Phoenix Suns. I just assume they're going to lose by 38 or something. But no, this is a good game. I don't really have anyone in cash with this matchup, what it presents. So we got Bledsoe probable, Chandler probable as well.
Yeah, it was Chandler. I think that was a precaution. We'll technically call him probable. He's probably playing though.
Right. Okay.
Likely, yeah. Who else did you? Yeah, you said Bledsoe, right?
Bledsoe. Yeah.
Yeah, he's even more probable because I don't think that was a really big thing.
Right. Yeah, and we'll have that updated when we hear more. But yeah, I'm not really on anyone in cash on this team. Really, assuming Bledsoe and Knight, both there in the backcourt. This isn't the greatest matchup for them. Obviously, with the Warriors' defensive.
So pick one out of Bledsoe or Knight, so everybody else can do the opposite because you always pick wrong.
I do always pick wrong, so I will pick. I like Bledsoe more in this game, so go Knight. If you want to go one of their back.
That's a chalk though. Knight, I think it's a chalk given how he's been playing lately.
I don't always go chalk, so.
Okay, fine.
Yeah, so yeah, Knight for sure. If you're gonna go one.
Yeah.
Now that but yeah, I like this game for them theoretically with the fast pace. It suits them well. It's just kind of difficult. They're gonna score. They're gonna score points. The Suns overall. So I think tournament wise, I like both of them, and I also like Markeith's been playing well, especially with them kind of going more small. He'll have obviously a difficult matchup, but Markeith's done well in difficult matchups in the past. He has the skills, I think, and I think they'll be looking at him to score a little bit more in this game. And he makes for a fine tournament option at a pretty soft price on both sides.
Agreed. Beyond that, it's just a mess of guys who see their minutes and roles fluctuate dramatically from game to game.
Right.
PJ Tucker is like the other only guy, but he swings so much from game to game. And they guys like TJ Warren, Bloor.
You can't really go any of those guys. I guess Warren has upside at least, but you'd be banking on a pretty big blowout for him to even do damage against that second unit.
They got another big that they're giving minutes to. I forgot who it is. It's not Alex Len. Mirza. Mirza's playing like big minutes. Tomajevic is playing like randomly too. It's just like a really weird rotation.
Yeah, it's not great. It's really the big three: Bledsoe, Knight, Markieff, and if Chandler's out, Len would start, but I don't think he's too strong of an option if Chandler does miss because they'll just go small. So.
Yeah, I don't think he'll play big minutes. Anyway, like, what did he? How many minutes did he play? I don't think he played like a
I don't, he
ton.
didn't play that much last game. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So I expect a lot of the same, especially when, when they're projected to be behind too. They're going to play smaller to catch up
Right.
a bit.
Yeah. I did want to late swap to Len. I kind of like him overall with points per minute kind of guy. But yeah, he only played 16 minutes last game. So
Yeah.
you kind of write him off a little bit. And we assume Chandler's back anyway. So, all right. Now let's finally move on to Minnesota at Sacramento. Don't have a line for this one. I'm assuming because DeMarcus Cousins is questionable, right?
Yeah, no news on him yet.
Okay, yeah. So let's start with Minnesota. I think this is a great spot for Minnesota. The Kings have given up 118 points and 127 points in their last two games. So I really like a lot of these Minnesota guys.
Yeah, we'll start with news and notes. Ricky Rubio, questionable for Friday. He had season-ending surgery on his left ankle last season, tweaked that ankle on Monday, played through it, and then aggravated again during the third quarter of Wednesday's game and didn't return. He said he's hopeful that he'll be able to play after he's going to get some treatment and see. But yeah, we can get to like the more under the radar types first, but let's start at the top here with I think he's been um, the most the best player recently at least is Andrew Wiggins, and
Yeah, for sure.
I think he's right up there at 7,100 on DraftKings, and what's he at on FanDuel?
He is, yeah, 7,500 on FanDuel.
Yeah, a little less ideal, but
It's a
70.
great spot. Yeah,
Yeah.
Sacramento leads the league in pace. So these guys are getting a pretty nice uptick.
Yeah, so the way Wiggins has been playing recently, I think he's definitely up there with one of the better cash game plays on this slate in this spot. Beyond that, okay, I'm gonna I'll okay. Maybe we disagree on this, but I'll probably lean with Towns more as a tournament play, just because of the volatility of the minutes. Just because I don't know if he's going to play um, 24 or 32 in a given night. It just fluctuates a little bit too much for my liking, to where I
Mhm.
can feel super confident that he's going to come in and play 29 to 32 minutes and double double and give me a couple blocks.
Yeah, I have Towns as tournament only as well, and a lot of that will depend on if Boogie plays or not. I don't really like taking centers against Boogie. He frustrates him a lot and
Puts him in
puts
foul
foul
trouble.
trouble for sure.
Yeah.
So it'll depend on that. But I think either way, given we have a lot of centers that are good price. Dwight, I'd rather have Dwight over Karl Anthony
Yeah.
Towns given this game. And then yeah, for cash, if Rubio's out, I'm fine with Zach LaVine. And if Rubio's
Yeah.
in, I'm kind of fine with Rubio. So Rubio has a nice price. So really, we'll wait and see if he's out or in. But I like the point guard for Minnesota regardless in this game.
So, okay, maybe we disagree on Rubio because I probably just don't want to roster him just because of the risk of aggravating that injury. I think it's a little bit too risky for my taste, given he's aggravated in two straight
Yeah, which
now.
is kind of why I think they'll hold him out until they know he's 100% because yeah, he keeps aggravating it. So it's like let him get 100%. So I'm
Right.
hoping for Zach LaVine. I would love to play him in this game.
Yeah, I think Rondo has a super inflated defensive rep
Oh yeah,
around the league. Um, Yeah, this is prime for Levine. He's actually I kind of teeter like I didn't um, pub him earlier as he was kind of that under the radar guy I was talking about potentially.
right.
Um,
Yeah, he's in a great spot. Kings turn the ball over so much, and the pace of this game will be perfect for LaVine.
yeah, you see anything in this front court? If Bielitsa is out again with that knee contusion, Gorgie Jang showed out recently, but maybe this isn't this. I think
Yeah,
if Boogie plays, this might be a good Jang spot because they might have to
they could
go a
match up.
little
Yeah.
bigger with him. If Boogie's out, then I would imagine they'll definitely look to go smaller, and Jang will kind of get squeezed. maybe for like Adrian Payne or something.
Yeah, I agree. I wish Jiang played more than Payne regularly anyways. He just
Yeah,
offers a lot more upside for our purposes. Really, Bielitsa is the guy I want to play, but yeah, he's the one who's kind of on the fence of even playing. So I'd
right.
like to see him get an extended role. But yeah, that's something to monitor with his status. The other guys will just make tournament plays for me, though.
Yeah.
Even if that, yeah, probably more Jiang. So we'll wait and see on that. Another guy I kind of think is sneaky is Kevin Martin. I know
Hmm.
me and Brian, yeah, we kind of ripped them apart last pod, and that with the starting unit now, the way they're rolling, it kind of doesn't offer a lot of upside. But 4,100 is just so cheap for a matchup with the Kings, shooting guard wise. They're near the bottom in defensive rating again. Like every year I've played DFS, the Kings are pretty much last against shooting guards. So I think at 4,100 in this game against the Kings, I think he'll have a lot of open looks, and I wouldn't mind going him in some tournament.
Okay, yeah. If you're saying tournaments, I agree with you. I wouldn't go with Cash because he has that downside of
He has downside, but you know
yeah.
what?
Well,
If I
go ahead.
if I play someone in cash and I see they have Kevin Martin, I'm not going to laugh. So there's that.
Yeah, no. I know.
It's not a horrible play.
Yeah, but if you're on
Yeah.
the other side of the table, you had substantial money on Kevin Martin, I'd be crapping my pants. Just because I
Right.
remember that first start that he had,
Oh yeah.
um, just so many misses. And then even that last game, like a lot of his production came at like the last 2 minutes. Like he hit that
Yeah.
three at the end.
It's definitely really nerve wracking to
Yeah,
roster him, but the price is cheap. Matchup is great. This game
yeah,
is awesome. So if you're gonna go him in cash, this is the game to do it. And he has some tournament upside.
yeah. King's shooting guards are Klay Thompson improved. He had that huge third quarter against Sacramento.
Right. Right. Of course. Yeah, and then Towns. I'm on him in tourney as well. Which me and Brian talked last game. We were pretty high on him coming off a bad game. Now he's coming off 2 bad games. Hopefully
Yeah.
that lowers his ownership even more, and you can kind of get a steal here if he.
You only get cute though if Boogie's out.
Right, right. There are a bunch of other center options. You do not really
Yeah.
need to go cat in cash.
Okay.
All right, let's move on to Sacramento. So we got Karan Butler.
Questionable.
Questionable. It's a pretty
Yeah.
big one. And then the other small news is obviously DeMarcus Cousins,
Yeah.
questionable as
But
well.
Karan Butler is much more important than Boogie.
Right, it'll have a big effect. So, yeah, you got my boy Rudy Gay on your cash radar if Boogie's out.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, he scored. His DK point total should have been even more
Yeah, it should have been way more. I
than
can't
40.
believe
What did he have?
49 or
50.3.
yeah,
50.3 DK points last. It should have been even more because he had zero like supporting stats.
right, which is pretty rare for him. So
Right. He should have been pulling up some boards at least, and just by the nature of the game, picking up a steal or block.
right, they just
Couple
made
of them.
every shot they took,
Yeah.
both teams. So
It was
that's why. Yeah.
this is a horrible game for that purposes. But
Yeah, but he's still easily paid off value, and his price only went up 200 on DraftKings
yeah,
to 7,200. So I mean, if Cousins is out, yeah, he's a great play.
he's a top 3 cash game play. I think.
Yeah, and then he could play a lot of the 4, which is actually great in this matchup too. So
You're not worried about KG finding
no,
the fountain of youth.
no, not particularly. Did you read that KG article?
I did.
Yeah, I would want to play with him. I would just not. I wouldn't want to play with him really at all. I see it, I guess, with some of those Celtics guys,
Yeah.
especially that Ray Allen, Paul Pierce team. Obviously, he was a great fit, but in Rondo. But Rondo's the weirdest dude in the NBA, so of course he
Yes.
probably liked the KG treatment. I don't know if someone crawling on all fours at you and barking is really the greatest play, but it sounded like he ruined some careers, which is kind of cool, I guess.
Yeah.
Get him out of the league early. They're not built for this game.
Kobe's ruined some careers. He made
Smush Parker, yeah.
made him cry. Was that it?
Yeah, I think he made Bynum cry too.
Yeah, he
Pretty
made a
sure.
bunch of people cry. He probably made Sasha cry too.
Oh yeah, and I respect that. Get that toughness. I like it.
Yeah.
But yeah, KG's crazy. Either way, though, yeah, I'm not scared of that matchup for Gay if he has to play more 4 in this game. So
Yeah.
I like him. If Cousins plays, it'll be hard for me to go Gay and cash just because the use of great Cousins
He's a
takes.
tournament. He's a prime tournament play.
Right.
But What do you think his ownership is going to be like if Cousins plays in tournaments?
Ooh, yeah, it'll probably still be kind of high just with the
Yeah,
games he's put up. So,
recency bias a little bit.
but he's still a tournament play because he
Yeah.
does have huge upside always, I think. So, yeah, but yeah, he's absolutely only a tournament play if Cousins plays. If Cousins is out, square at the top of your kind of small forward cash play on both sides.
Rondo
Yeah,
again.
Ron. I mean, we say it every
His
time. His
floor
price
is
floor is
so
like
high.
40 something. Yeah, so
He's averaging 50.7 over the last week on DK.
yeah, and I mean on FanDuel, you kind of have to go him at this point. He's 8,400.
Yeah.
So you're looking at the guys around him and looking at
Don't
floor.
be cute. Like, don't be
Yeah,
cute. Like,
just
Darren Collison isn't playing that well, period. Like, this isn't a situation to worry about. Like, Rondo's minutes will be super solid either way. He's
right.
like
And
close
his
to 40.
assists are
Yeah.
absurd right now. If Cousins is out, I do like him more because he'll get more rebounds. So you can fade him on DraftKings. I think is fine. I wouldn't fade him on FanDuel though at 8,400.
Yeah, let's see. On DK, his implied is probably 41 or 42, somewhere around there.
Yeah, yeah, 40. So yeah, he's pretty safe bet for that. You
He's
can
still, yeah, he's still like, okay, he's still good at cash. Like, he's okay in cash at 93. Like we
yeah,
talked about in the strategy part, right? Like if you're in like 50-50s, for example, I think I like Rondo a lot because you're like guaranteed a floor.
right. Yeah,
Even if he's like not at the top of the projected plus minus of that position, you are willing to like pay up a little bit or like forego a little bit of like the model rating
mhm.
to go to Rondo because it's just like super. I don't know. It's like
Yeah,
almost a
you're paying for
guarantee.
the floor, and it's a
Yeah,
good
it's
thing to do
consistency.
for cash
Right.
games. It's great, and for tournaments, he has that triple double upside. So DraftKings wise, that's
Yeah.
obviously huge too. So, and this is a good, fast paced game that the Kings need to play fast with Rondo. That's kind of how he excels. So he's in a great spot. And FanDuel, yeah, absolutely cash. DraftKings, you could go either way. It depends on the rest of your roster.
So let's talk about a couple of things. Okay, so if Boogie plays 10-6 on DK, or you have a price on FanDuel for DK or for DeMarcus Cousins.
Yeah, he's 10-6 on FanDuel too, as
Okay,
center though. So yeah.
yeah. So I think he's still a strong cash game play, obviously because it's Boogie. Do I think he's the best cash game play of the slate? Probably not, because I mean there are a lot of like really solid cash game plays on this slate
That are expensive
that
too.
are
Yeah, you got
expensive, like
Harden and Curry's in
Durant.
yeah, Durant. So it's going to be tough to kind of differentiate. You're going to have to go with who the value guys are that you have a
Right.
high floor at each position. So if you have a center who's kind of 6, 7K, mid sevens that you think can afford you Durant or Curry or something, then you can fade Cousins. And likewise, if you have a guy at small forward who's 6K or whatnot, you can get Cousins. You're picking between some pretty big beasts. So
Yeah.
it's all about that. They all have great matchups. And Boogie coming off the injury, I guess, makes me a little more hesitant on going him. And the matchup with Towns isn't totally ideal. So I think,
Yeah, but Boogie will do Boogie.
yeah,
I'm
he's
not
a
too worried
beast.
about it. Yeah,
The
he's
other
like
thing is,
threes now.
yeah, this game is late. So FanDuel wise, you
Yeah,
probably won't know his status. So
right.
it's it depends how comfortable you are with late swap. If you're not, I wouldn't really risk Boogie on DraftKings. If you are, you can save a spot for him if the rest of your roster is great.
I mean, you can pivot to Curry because Curry
Right.
plays late too. You put
Anthony Davis too. Yeah.
yeah. So
With a little more, but
right. You put Boogie at your util spot and then your flex spot. So it gives you a little bit more flexibility to do that. I would let's see.
yeah,
So,
Anthony Davis is only 200 more than Boogie. And honestly, I might lean Anthony anyways. So that's something we'll get into in a minute here.
yeah.
Um,
So say one thing that did surprise me a little bit with when Boogie didn't play was that Carl just went with an 8-man rotation. Like I
yeah,
was expecting Quincy Acy to play a little bit.
Yeah,
Um,
I mean, he shouldn't, but yeah, knowing Carl, you would expect him. But yeah, I did notice that too. An 8-man rotation, so you got guys like Bellinelli and Caspi logging pretty solid minutes. So if Boogie's out again, are you looking at either of them?
I'm looking at Caspi for sure.
Caspi,
I like
absolutely. Yeah.
Caspi so much more better than Bellinelli.
Me too.
There's a
Bellinelli has
lot,
a very low floor.
right, and Cassidy's a lot more productive on a per minute basis. He
Right,
has a track record too. When Gay was out last year, I played Caspi so much in cash.
right.
You know that in minutes he can produce. He can do some rebounds. He can do a lot of different things. Bellinelli has a lot of points and threes and not too much else outside that. So I am all over Caspi.
Me too. And yeah, he's
Boogie's out.
4,100 on FanDuel. So if he draws a start and we see Gay at 4, which is likely given that I don't think they'll need to start 2 big men again.
Yeah.
So I could see Caspi drawing the start if Cousins is out. And yeah, then he makes a great cash game. But like we said, we might not know on Cousins.
Right.
So I think risking Caspi on FanDuel is a risk you don't really want to take if Cousins ends up playing.
Agreed.
So yeah, I think we covered everyone on the Kings. Yeah, Bellinelli too low of a floor. Let's move on to the Pelicans at Clippers. Another high total. So a lot of these night games have really high totals. 209.5, and the Clippers, I think they were favored by 7.5, but I'm seeing 6.5 now.
Yeah, I have 6.5 too.
Okay, so yeah, not too big. The Clippers have not been playing that well really, and New Orleans I think has won 3 in a row, and they're averaging 115 points a game in that streak. So right after 5 straight losses. So I think it's my boy Ish Smith really carrying the load. Some dude named Anthony Davis has played all right, but you got some cash game plays in this game? For New
Yeah.
Orleans, at least?
Yeah, so Tyreek is doubtful. He was a game time decision last game and ended up being out. So I thought he had a pretty good shot at playing on Friday, but he's already listed as doubtful. So yeah, it's going to be a lot of Ish Smith, and he's put up I think 3 straight 40+ draft
Yeah, huge
totals.
games. And I love Ish.
Yeah, I'm not. So he's going to be
Tournament-wise
playing.
for me, though.
Yeah, just because they've been playing him at like a lot of point like behind Drew,
Mhm.
right? So I don't love this matchup, obviously against Chris Paul.
Right, right.
He's gonna have some problems. Obviously, that 40+ DK point streak is gonna probably come to an end.
Yeah, for
I still
sure.
think he's a very good bet to. Oh, he got priced up. He's at 6,400 on
Yeah.
DraftKings. Wow, Ish.
Yeah, you can't really go.
Ish
You can't
living
go him in
large.
cash.
Ish living large. There you go.
It's about
Nice.
time. I've been hyping him every time Drew's out. It's like the best day of the week.
No, he's been crushing with Drew too.
Yeah. Oh well, yeah. The last few for sure.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
when he's out, I'm all over him. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's tough. I'm interested to see kind of how they'll distribute the minutes in this game with the matchup problems. I think Ryan Anderson, Rhino's been playing big minutes. I don't know how many he'll go in this game with the matchup kind of. DeAndre and Blake is a problem. So
They've been, I don't know. Like Gentry's been so hesitant to go heavy on either Ashik or Ajinça. So like,
yeah, and I don't necessarily blame him too much. I mean,
Yeah.
they can't really do much, which we'll get into in a sec. Why I love Blake so much in this game.
Ashik hasn't like he's barely scored at all.
Yeah, yeah,
I think he's taking like 2 shots in like 4 games or something.
Yeah, it's terrible. So
Yeah. So we like Ish and Tourneys.
Anthony Davis in cash, he had no problem scoring in both games he played versus Blake last year. So his price, I think, is just a little too soft on DK. It's a fast-paced game, a high total. It's a close enough spread to where I don't have problems rolling Anthony Davis in cash.
I agree, especially on a stacked slate too. That's saying a lot, and I agree with that too. That I wouldn't have problems rolling Davis in cash, even on this slate with so many other good options.
Yeah,
I think
and there are.
Even at him at 10. So let me ask you this: would you rather have Brow, Anthony Davis at 10-8 on DK, or Kevin Durant at 9-7?
Yeah, that's going to be the problem, and that'll be really hard. Just position-wise, I think Durant makes more sense at small forward, although you have Covington and a couple other guys there. Rudy Gay is an option, so you could go Covington and Gay as your forwards, assuming DeMarcus Cousins is out. And you can go Anthony Davis at your power forward slot if you want. So there are going to be a lot of options. It's a huge slate, tons of studs with great matchups, great prices. Even LeBron has a pretty safe price. So,
Yeah.
You got Durant, you got Curry. There are a lot of guys. So these slates kind of always, I never want to push them too hard because the way I look at it is that there are so many options that I think you kind of will fall into like a good lineup almost with these guys. You have so many studs and great matchups. It's not going to matter as much which route you go as long as you fill the other spots with value.
So I think the what we're getting at here is that constructing your rosters on Friday, you probably have to do it from the bottom up and start
Right.
with your
Your favorite value plays, your
your
favorite
value plays
plays,
and
high
your
floors.
mid-range plays too, and then you're gonna fill it out with
Right.
the half dozen
Yeah.
solid.
End it with Durant or
Right.
Anthony Davis. I don't know if the slate tomorrow really makes it out to be a stars and scrubs type of slate. Some of these cheap guys they're priced up, so I don't know if you're really going to be
Yeah.
able to get like Anthony Davis and Durant with a solid lineup. And
Right.
there are a lot of guys kind of at 7K, Wall at 81 that I think it makes a little bit more sense to kind of load up on those guys than
Mhm.
two really expensive guys.
Yeah. Who else did we like at 81? We talked about him before. Um, let's see. Kawhi was in that range. It wasn't
Yeah,
him. I'm trying to think. Um,
I don't know.
well, yeah, we can go through
We'll
those
go
guys.
back.
Oh,
Yeah.
Kevin Love at 83. That was it.
Oh, right. Yeah, he's in a great spot as well. So, yeah, you're looking at not too much more for like Durant and Anthony Davis on DraftKings, especially. I would strongly consider on FanDuel. It's really hard to kind of get him in there
Yeah.
with his price. I think 11-1. So it's a little bit different dynamic site to site. Depending on if you play both sites, you could maybe go Anthony Davis on DraftKings, fade him on FanDuel, something like that. So. But yeah, I agree. Start with your value guys, your favorite cheap guys, and if you end up with Durant, that's cool. If you end up with Anthony Davis, that's cool. End up with Curry, that's fine. So
Must be nice to end up with any of those guys. Yeah.
yeah, you're in a good spot either way. So
All right. So
um,
I think we're not on Eric Gordon, not on Drew Holiday.
no, yeah, Eric Gordon's too dependent on scoring, especially for cash wise. So
Um,
and then yeah, Rhino's been playing big minutes and he's been scoring well, but I don't know how many minutes he'll see
yeah,
in this
I
matchup.
wouldn't roll him in cash. I think
No, no
he's a good
way.
tournament play.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
because
So
I
yeah,
can see them maybe they get down and they play him and Brow together in that front court.
right, right. Which I like. So
Yeah,
yeah, I mean it's really Anthony Davis for cash. You can obviously write off Alonzo G from everything, and you got same with Ashik and
yeah,
yeah, Ish and Rhino and Gordon are serviceable tournament options.
yeah. Ish being at the top of that list.
Right, for
Ish and
sure.
Rhino. Yeah,
Yeah, let's move on to the Clips. So I think the Clips are in a great spot here against the dreadful Pelicans defense. It's horrible. They're second to last NBA in defensive rating. And the Pelicans are sixth in pace. So this is a great spot for these guys. I'm sure you're pretty high on Blake, who's just one more guy, stud who has a fantastic matchup that I actually like. I'm not scared of Anthony Davis defensively versus Blake. Blake gets a lot of his touches at the elbow. They both do, really. So Blake had really good games against Anthony Davis last year, the two times they played. Are you on him for cash or with all the bevy of options, you kind of writing Blake off?
I'm not writing him off. I just don't. I'm not seeking this out. Comparatively to the other options I have on the table. I think Griffin. So somebody at replied the NBA account saying that they got Griffin at like 1%
I
ownership
saw
on
that.
FanDuel,
Yeah, that's unreal. Yeah,
and that was that was the other night against Utah, and maybe people were scared away by the matchup against Favors. So
hmm
I think you can definitely go with him in tourneys because if his ownership was that low on FanDuel, then I don't expect a massive jump from one game to the next, especially on this full slate. So I would I would be all over Blake in tourneys, with people scared away by the fact that he's probably going to go up against Anthony Davis.
Right. I kind of think the way Blake plays and the way he gets his shots, he's virtually matchup proof from the
Yeah,
elbow. He can't really be stopped. He's going to hit those shots, and so he's 9,100 on DraftKings. If you fall into that, I don't think it's too bad for cash. But with all the other options having much better matchups, I think you're probably best to,
yeah. I think he can
stick
do
with him.
better on the slate.
I agree with that. Yeah, I do like Blake, but yeah, more so for tournaments. And then
How about CP3?
Yeah, yeah, he's got a good price, good matchup. Obviously, he's had big games. He's more tourney for me
Yeah,
though on the slate, definitely.
agreed.
And then
DJ might
yeah,
eat in this matchup.
DeAndre Jordan, I like a lot. I'm
Yeah,
not that opposed to him even in cash. The problem is there are so many
there's so
guys
many options.
right
Yeah,
around 7,200.
exactly.
It's just not necessary to go DeAndre. But
Though
yeah,
I can see him having a huge
oh yeah,
game.
me too. Absolutely, he could really rack up the rebounds. Horford and Valanciunas just crushed the Pelicans. You've had a lot of centers have Zaza doubled, I think, against them. So it's a good spot for centers with Ashik and Azinka kind of being dead weight there,
Yeah,
and Pelicans play small. So yeah, DeAndre and Blake definitely together pose a big matchup problem.
I like DeAndre at 72 better than Blake at 91 in tourneys. Um,
In tourneys,
yeah,
I think Blake has more upside.
yeah.
Kind of. Has DeAndre really had that game yet where he's just gone insane? Kind of
No,
like a
you're right there. Though there is a $1,900 difference between them, so that like is
right. Yeah, I
right.
don't know if I can really comfortably say DeAndre has more upside than those other kind of 7,200 guys.
Yeah, that's fair.
But yeah, both are great tournament plays regardless. So I would have some shares of both. I like them both in this spot. Yeah, DeAndre probably more so. Uh,
Yeah, I like you said, I really like this matchup for him. I think uh,
yeah.
the boards will be there in large quantities. 14.
What about the shooting guards, Reddick and Crawford? This is a
Yeah.
fantastic matchup for them. I pick one, I guess, in
Oh,
tournaments.
I think who you- who would I go with?
I would go with Crawford.
I would go with
Um,
Crawford too.
yeah, and I do like him in the spot. Pelicans are dead last in the NBA defending the three. They allow opponents to shoot 40%. So for Reddick and Crawford, two guys who take over four a game, I think they're in a great spot here.
Agreed. Yeah, I think hmm, it's tough. It's tough because um, I can see either having big games. I'm not. I don't have a strong feeling
Well, who
about.
would you prefer if, say, this game goes down to the wire? You think kind of Jamal will be in there at the end for his ability to score off the dribble and kind of get to the rim?
No, I would think Reddick would be in there. Um,
I guess it's tough. They've done both. So,
yeah,
and then in a blowout, yeah, I like Crawford a little bit more.
right.
Obviously, if he can play that fourth quarter against the Pelicans second unit, even then he's got some pretty big upside. I like them both. I guess kind of even shares maybe of them. But if you had to pick one for one lineup and you want to go that route, I would probably choose Crawford.
I would pick him as well. Yeah, I like pretty much most of these players on the team except for Austin Rivers.
Yeah, he's not even an option if he's the only guard on the team.
If he's playing like a one against a chair,
Yeah,
I'd still fade.
take the chair.
I'd fade in a pre-draft workout.
Right. Yeah. Oh man. Yeah.
The Darko fade.
Yeah, the Darko. Absolutely. All right, that wraps up this 11 game slate. I think we went long today, but we filled it with info, and
Yeah.
it's more full of info than my belly's full of Thanksgiving feast. So yeah, we're looking good here. So thanks for tuning in, guys. You're gonna get our best edit, so we'll see how this turns out. We're pretty worthless without Brian, so we'll see. But thanks for tuning in. Anything you want to add?
No, thanks for sticking with us. We went really long today.
Yeah. Follow us on Twitter. There's a lot of updates kind of look out for tomorrow. We'll see if Jalil is suspended or whatnot for banking a dude on the streets. So we'll keep you updated, but thanks a lot, guys. Good luck tomorrow.
Good luck.